So my name's Roland Danreuter. I've known WIUT for many years, partly as when I was Dean of Faculty of Social Science and Humanities, and then more recently as I was Deputy Vice Chancellor for Education. Many of my interactions in recent years have been in a somewhat more bureaucratic form of annual monitoring and validation and revalidations. So it's actually a great pleasure for me to chair and to host this collaborative research workshop, which I think is one of the great achievements of the last few years in intensifying the relationship between Westminster, the University of Westminster and WIUT. And so I'm here in my research capacity as a research professor, and also I've recently been appointed as director of the Forum for Uzbek and Silk Road Studies. So this workshop has a number of functions. The first function will be, in the substantive part of it, will be to celebrate or opportunity to get to know, to understand better, and to celebrate a number of the joint collaborative projects that have been undertaken between colleagues from London and from Tashkent. This has been going on for 2 years now, and we have a series of projects which have been concluded or about to be concluded, and they have been a great success. We will not be able to look at all of them or get a see all of them, but we have selected 4, which I think illustrate illustrate the range of research that is undertaken across through this collaborative venture. So in anticipation, I'd just like to say thank you for all those project leads and those projects which will be providing short presentations about the work they've done, and which will also hopefully also highlight the advantages of collaboration and the benefits of collaboration that have been so integral to this process. The second part of this session will be, or the second element of this workshop will be at the very end, when the rector, Bahrom Mirkasimov, will present, hopefully, I think at this point, announce the projects which have been successful in the latest 2020-21 round, and will set forward the sort of progress into 2021 in relationship in terms of the research partnership between Westminster in London and WIUT in Tashkent. But the other and third part which will be a particular focus of this session will be in relation to the initiation of the Westminster Forum for Uzbek and Silk Road Studies, which is in a sense the culmination and consolidation and the next stage, I think, of enhancement of the research relationship and collaborative relationship between London and Tashkent. It is a form of institutionalizing that research collaboration. I think this is very much the early stages. So in this session, what I'm particularly interested in is to get some ideas about how this, or some background to how this idea emerged, how this proposal initiative emerged, what might be the advantages of it, and particular questions which I had in mind, and which I hope also to get some feedback from colleagues as well, is what is the purpose and function of this forum? What is its intellectual range? I imagine that it will be interdisciplinary, but what disciplines will it incorporate? What I have done in terms of looking at the projects that we've substantively done at the university, I've divided them into 4 broad themes of society, economy, technology, and education, which I think reflects the ways in which the research between the 2 institutions, the type of focus of that research. But there might be other ways in which to think of the thematic range of the forum. The second aspect, second question I've got in relation to this is what is the geographical scope of what we're looking at. Clearly, we have a strong focus upon Uzbekistan, Uzbek studies, and I think that is one of the strong points of this as a center. But clearly, it is also part of the Silk Road studies, and Silk Road is a very expansive region. And is also, that title also reflects back the journal that we have on Silk Road studies as well. And I know that, for instance, in London, we have a lot of collaboration in relation to the Caucasus. So I think there's an interest in seeing the Caucasus being incorporated into this. But the Silk Road has an expansive range, and it is perhaps a question about to what extent this is going to be something which is pan-Central Asian, pan-Silk Road, etc. The third, which is a more practical element about the forum, is what its principal activities should be, seminars, working papers, blogs. What is the, I suppose it's also what's the intellectual ambition of the forum. I think the expectation is it will start relatively modest, but build up over time. And then I think in conclusion to this is sort of what are the distinctive features of this forum? How will it find a place amongst other centers or institutes which focused upon Central Asia, and what will be its distinctive mark or distinctive brand or distinctive USPs? So at that point, I think I've raised a number of questions. I think what I will do is maybe go to the two originators of the idea. I've come to it fairly late in the process, but this is something that emerged through discussions, debate between Professor Andrew Lin, who's the PVC research as well as head of College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and Bahram, who was formerly the research director and now obviously rector of the university. And so what I might do is invite, I don't know which would like to go first, to give maybe Bahram could go first, just to say something from the Westminster, from WIUT side. What was the impulse for setting this up, and what distinctively do you think how it would benefit colleagues in WIUT? And then we'll pass on to Andrew to give the perspective from Westminster. So Bahram, do you mind coming in and
Roland, thank you very much for this very kind introduction. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes? Okay. So first of all, good afternoon and good morning to all the colleagues. And I'm very glad to see colleagues from WIUT as well as colleagues from the University of Westminster. Would have been better to see you face to face, but so I see lots of familiar faces. So welcome to this launch of this forum. Before I start, I thought Andrew would be should go first, and then I'll just fill in the gaps. Andrew, do you mind if you go first? I have a lot of thoughts in mind, but you know, I'll let you go first, and then I fill in the gaps.
Okay, Bahram. Now you are the rector. I think you are in the driving seat. In fact, it looks as though you literally are in the driving seat in your big rectoral office there in well, yes, I'm happy to say a little bit about how we've got to this point. Thank you, Roland, for a really good introduction, setting the context, and also asking, I think, probably what are the crucial questions at this early stage of the forum's development. The research relationship between our two institutions has had a rather lower profile than the teaching relationship. I think it's fair to say. Our partnership was established based on shared interests in developing talk programs, and those programs are now very well established. They run very effectively, and it's only more recently that we've seen the opportunity to develop research in a number of ways. One of the ways is to capitalize on the longer experience in London of undertaking research, of being an institution where research is part of the mission, in order to capitalize on that experience to develop colleagues in WIUT to take forward their own ambitions to become more active in research, but also from the point of view of London-based researchers to be able to dig into this kind of extraordinarily fascinating and rich laboratory of data, of lifestyles, of political and international relations, which can be quite hard to access for researchers in the West. In my own field, applied linguistics, and I've been fortunate to have developed a research project of my own through this partnership. There's a huge gap, a glaring gap in terms of data and examples and case studies from the Central Asia region. So I think the idea of developing research as part of our relationship came really from those two angles, to help develop capacity in Tashkent, but also to give access to a whole new kind of landscape of research opportunity for London-based researchers. So things have moved quite quickly and effectively. As Roland noted, we have a partnership funding scheme, which has now supported a number of projects, which we'll be hearing about later today. And we're at the point where we have enough to want to profile. We can be quite proud now, quite proud and loud in our championing of research which has developed through the relationship between Tashkent and London. And the visibility of what we're doing isn't going to be maximized if we just continue to exist in terms of a number of isolated projects. So we had a workshop in London while we still could come together back in the spring, not long before we were all forced to go online, to consider what form this profiling might take, what the best infrastructure would be to bring our shared research interests together. We discussed a number of possibilities. We recognized that researchers in Uzbekistan and researchers researching Uzbekistan was at the heart of the matter. But we also had already our shared journal, Silk Road Studies, which seeks to profile research on the wider region. So that was already there as a commitment to a focus which went wider than just Uzbekistan. And as Roland noted, we have in London a now long established commitment to the study of Georgia and Georgian matters. We host the annual Georgian Studies Day, which is now very well established. So that suggested that as a first pass, looking to the countries of the South Caucasus would be a good move beyond the immediate context of Uzbekistan. Things have moved reasonably quickly, despite the fact that we've all been sent back to our homes. So we've now got a blog for the forum, and I must thank Anastasia Bezborodova, who personally embodies the relationship between our two institutions. She's a WIUT colleague, a member of the teaching staff, but she's also now a PhD student at the University of Westminster in London. And she's done great work to set up that blog, so we have an online presence. So we are kind of set up. We've got a name, we've got a rather interesting acronym, we've got a director, we've got a blog site, we've got us, the community, which from my perspective is great to see, because key to our research strategy, institutional research strategy at University of Westminster, is a notion of research communities, of people coming together from across disciplines to share their insights and their expertise, to be able to develop funding bids and do all the kind of things we couldn't do on our own. So I think we're really well set up. As far as I'm concerned, it's now over to everyone in this room to capitalize on all this and become a real research powerhouse. So I think I'll stop there. Bahram, you've got nowhere to hide now. It's your turn.
Andrew, thank you very much. That was, I think, provided a really nice overview of what we've done. From my side, I can only say this is a very strategically important initiative for both universities, and it brings lots of people who are already working with each other in providing a platform, virtual and physical, to show their work to the world, but also bring other people who are interested in the study of Central Asia and provide a big forum to do that. So even before Andrew joined the University of Westminster, I always advocated that this region of Central Asia is understudied and under-researched. This is, we even wrote a paper that if you go to Google Scholar and just type in Central Asia versus Europe, North America, South America, East Asia, South Asia, Central Asia has the least number of, clicks and papers and reports, so per capita. So, and a number of surveys. So there are many reasons why there's less research, but historically this region was, what we say, the renaissance for many of the great ideas there that we no longer, think of that it originated from this region. So we're going back to the 6th, 7th, up to 15th century. So our idea is now to, again, bring that forward, the potential and the opportunity forward to the new generation of researchers, emerging scholars who are interested in the region, but also working together. It doesn't matter if you're based in London or Tashkent or Geneva, So that's the idea. And I always thought London is a great place to do this and to start, because when you even, University of Westminster has had a link for the last 18 years with Uzbekistan, yet if you click and if you ask people, they don't associate much Central Asia with the University of Westminster in terms of research capacity and capability. So I thought that needs to change. Andrew Lin came along, and some other colleagues were champions of this on their side. So we start first with launching of the journal. So we now have a Silk Road, a journal of Eurasian development, which brings a huge community of scholars who are very much interested to understand inside out perspectives on the region, not just outside in of what we read from the journal articles and news sites and blogs and so on. So I thought this would develop the capability and capacity of young and emerging scholars from around the world to focus on Central Asia and the Silk Road. And Roland asked a good question about geography, so that's also developing. And Roland has had a long-standing interest in the study of Central Asia, and I think, just like he mentioned, he was quite a frequent visitor to Tashkent. So after the journal, it's still in its early stages, but we see a great interest already in the submissions and citations of the journal. It's open access, it's all free for anyone who would like to show their work to be published. So, and then we thought, well, now we have this scheme between the two universities, collaborative fund, which provides a basic seed fund to build the collaborative talents of two universities. And we did that for the last 2-3 years, and it went really well, and there are more and more number of projects submitted. Unfortunately, we cannot fund each one of them because we have limited funding, but the interest is growing, and we're trying to accommodate each and every project team. So we thought now is a good time to bring that all into one centralized platform, and we called it Forum, Westminster Forum for Uzbek and Silk Road Studies. And this is the first time we're meeting online. We wish to have this in London, in Tashkent, physically. due to the circumstance, now we're here online, but we hope to do one physical event in London and followed by event in Tashkent. So I think I'll stop here, and we're very hopeful and optimistic about the potential of this forum to bring people together, basically. And I think Andrew, myself, and other people who are already in this community actively working, we're all behind this very important and strategic initiative for both universities.
Thank you very much, Bakram. And I think I think you've elevated things as well. Also, we're bringing out the history of Central Asia as being a real, and the Silk Road as being a part of the Renaissance, which contributed to broader civilization as well. So, and I think if I can just say a few words and then pass on to Bakram, because as director and then as co-director, just to give I think from picking up on what both Andrew and Bakram was saying, I think from a Westminster, from a London perspective, I think that what this forum does and what this research collaboration has demonstrated, I think, has been a really quite unique access to the opportunities for research in Central Asia, which has not always been a very easy thing from people from outside to engage with. So I think this that there is a huge opportunities here for colleagues at Westminster to benefit from our institutional arrangements and our presence, and with the potential for collaboration with colleagues in Uzbekistan. And I think that is a real benefit. And I think it is a big important shift in the relationship, because I remember 5 or 6 years ago, we were often questioning how can we intensify the relationship between our two institutions, and this has been a process through it. And the second thing I think is what I mentioned is that, I mean, I worked on Central Asia in the 1990s. In fact, I was first visited Tashkent in 1991, just after the fall of the Soviet Union. There was a lot of interest, I think a lot of academic work being done in the 1990s, and there's probably been a little bit of a loss of that momentum during the 2000s. But I think now, particularly with the dynamics within Uzbekistan, the liberalization occurring, the dynamics within the region as a whole, there's a intensified interest in Central Asia. And I think this is also a very good strategic opportunity to do research in the area where there's a lot of change taking place. And this is a region of great strategic importance for outside countries as well. So I think that's one of the factors that particularly drives my interest in this forum, and I think is why it's of interest to colleagues in Westminster. Kahraman, do you want to say a few words from perspective of WIUT and Tashkent?
Yeah, thank you, Roland. I think you and Bakram emphasized the role of this initiative. I think in terms of contribution, I see that this forum and the activities that will follow will contribute to collaborative and interdisciplinary research. If you look at the research profile of academic institutions in Uzbekistan, you'll see that it's mostly applied in nature. Apart from mathematicians, I don't know any field where the research was not applied or policy related or business practices related and things like that. Having observed that, it's surprising that interdisciplinarity is still a novelty. You would think that it should be common, but it's not. And I think this forum and the network that will follow and the activities that will follow, projects, I think they will contribute into this interdisciplinary nature of modern applied and policy-related research. I think Westminster has established itself as a preeminent academic institution in Uzbekistan. Our footprint is really sizable. I think and now we can become a leader both in this country and in the region in terms of collaborative and interdisciplinary research. So I think this forum serves that purpose really well, and I think yeah, it will be one of the important initiatives in this in our efforts in this regard.
And maybe, Kahraman, you could say a little bit about what the ambition in relation to, I mean, clearly within Uzbekistan, there's an ambition to be an influential voice in research and applied research. But what about more generally in Central Asia and the broader region? What's the sort of ambition in terms of research there?
Well, I think considering the strategic placement of the country and the region, you know, coming up with the policy solutions for social issues, for education, for teaching, that will have you know, far-reaching policy impact and well, like the research profile fits well the country profile. I mean, you know, this is we're the most populous country in the region. You know, the 60% of the population is young population. So a quality of education is a predominant you know policy objective. So I think this initiative will help us to make impact in terms of quality of teaching and education, you know, both in our country and in the region as a whole.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think that's very helpful. Thank you for all the contributions from Bahram and Andrew and Kahraman. I think this is obviously a work in progress, and do just get in contact with me if you have any particular ideas about how this forum will develop. We're hoping to inaugurate it officially in May, and hopefully physically. I think we've yet to decide whether we're going to do it in London or Tashkent or in both. I think that was a discussion that Bahram and Kahraman were going to have. But it will be something we will be therefore working towards that launch, which we would also hope to be a physical event, if hopefully with the vaccine having kicked in at that point, making that possible. But we'll see what happens in relation to that. But I think in terms of interdisciplinarity, and we can move now to the second part of this session, which is to actually look at some of the projects that have been funded through this collaborative fund, and which have been produced, I think, very exciting and interesting research results. And they give a little bit of the flavor of the type of research that has been undertaken. And I have asked all the, although this is very brief presentations, also to give some of the insights into the benefits they saw of this collaboration, of this interdisciplinary and cross-institutional and international collaboration. And I'm going to pass over, I think, if Lobar is there, for Lobar to chair this session and to introduce the two themes discussions. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Roland. Hello, everyone. It's very good to see you. I'm very pleased to introduce the session, the next, well, I guess, presentation for 10 minutes, and then we will have another one, and then you will be able to ask your questions. Can I please ask the audience, because it's a lot of you here, and we wouldn't be able to give you a voice to ask your question probably. If you can please type it in the chat, and then I will be asking on your behalf the presenters if you have any questions. You can either chat, print it in the general chat, or to me privately. Thank you. So the first section is about economy, and I'm pleased to see Professor Gerda Wielander. Hi, Gerda, nice to see you.
Hi, Loba, nice to see you again.
Thanks. Kanbai Wang, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrongly. Karan Jackson, Nazima Yusupova, and Hamid Khadjaev, who would like to talk about China in Uzbekistan.
Thank you so much, Loba. I've got a technical question first. I would like to share my screen to show the presentation. So I think I need to be given some hosting rights in order to be able to do that just temporarily. I don't know who's in charge, who can pass that to me, or co-host, make me co-host for the brief presentation.
All right.
Nazima,
Nazima
great,
is doing...
fantastic. That's wonderful. So, so if you start on the first slide, so we have a project. So my name is Gerde Wielander. I am the Associate Head of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, but I'm here today in my role as Professor of Chinese Studies and a member of the Contemporary China Center. And jointly, we put in a project investigating the effects of the Belt and Road Initiative on trade, migration, and Chinese language education in Uzbekistan. Our team, we just spoke about interdisciplinarity. Our team is absolutely interdisciplinary. Also here at Westminster, Karen Jackson is a member of the business school. Tangwei Wang, he can't be here today because he's teaching, but he with me is in the School of Humanities, which is my academic home as well. And so if we, and in WIUT, we have Nazima, Hamid, and Vakrom, who are working with us on investigating this particular question. Nazima, if you just go back to the slide showing the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, you may, probably many of you are familiar with this term, the Belt Road Initiative, which actually started out its existence as an ideology project from the People's Republic of China as the New Silk Road. It has changed names a few times since, and is now sort of firmly established as the China's Belt and Road Initiative. It was launched formally in Central Asia. It was launched in 2013 in Kazakhstan by President Xi Jinping. And it was a conscious move away from the Pacific and the pivoting west to the immediate west of China in terms of strategic investment along the areas of the former Silk Road. Now there's also a maritime road, which is indicated in blue on this particular map. Since then, actually, the BRI has become an umbrella term for a rather loose set of infrastructure projects all around the globe, and really by now only very tentatively linked to the original routes of the Silk Road. I think from the academic literature and specialists who work on BRI, I think the consensus now is, if you call it, if you say from the Chinese perspective in terms of a project, if you say it's part of BRI, it's BRI. But from our perspective, if we move to the next slide, Nazima, we are asking a very simple question. We just ask, what impact has the Belt Road Initiative had on Uzbekistan in the field of trade, migration, and Chinese language education? So the interdisciplinarity is also expressed in the title of our project. And a second question is, can we in fact see a marked increase of activity following Xi Jinping's declaration in 2013, or are there different key and pivotal moments that have more to do with Uzbekistan's recent history and leadership change later, 2016, 2017, that might have had a bigger impact? Our main aims and objectives are to provide a very preliminary evaluation of this impact on Uzbekistan and in Uzbekistan, also to map out Chinese presence into Uzbekistan since 2013. And then crucially, like most of the projects, I think we have the aim to identify more refined research questions for subsequent bigger funding application. It's already been mentioned that there is very little research on Uzbekistan available, and also on China in Uzbekistan and the BRI in Central Asia more generally. So there are mostly the most important resources that exist, the two edited volumes, both dated 2018 by Palgrave that include chapters on Central Asia, but nothing specifically on Uzbekistan. So we are really opening up a new field of research here. We have the projects are prominent on our websites. So we have an external presence here. We've got China and Uzbekistan as one of the projects listed under our Contemporary China Center. And then we also have, the project also has a web presence on the WIUT, on the WIUT website, and in English, Uzbek and Russian, of course. I'll hand over to Nosima now, who is going to talk to the subsequent slides. You might be muted, Nosima.
Thank you. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Gerda, for giving me a floor. I'll continue with methodology part. Basically, we have two phases of the data analysis. First is desk-based research, including three parts. First one is media coverage analysis, then statistical data analysis, and literature review. In the media coverage analysis, we take particular newspaper articles in the framework of Chinese presence in Uzbekistan and BRI. We cover all the newsletters from the 2013 until current days and save it in our database. Basically, they cover all three fields of our research project. Further, we have statistical data analysis. We use open data sources. We would also use some sources from the ministries and Statistical Committee of the Republic of Uzbekistan. And of course, we constantly update our literature review. So we are reviewing our any peer-reviewed journal articles, reports, and book chapters or books in any language, Chinese, Uzbek, Russian, or English, of course. The next phase of our research is ethnographic research, or we have a focus groups and interviews in Uzbekistan. Basically, we cover different perspectives and views in order to diversify our interviews and focus groups. Particularly, for example, we have WIUT student focus groups and Confucius Institute interviews in order to understand the Chinese language, the interest in Chinese language education from the perspective of the student and from the perspectives of the institution and teachers. Also, we have contact with Chinese enterprises, employees, traders, and tourists in Uzbekistan in order to see their experience as a Chinese migrants in Uzbekistan. And we do also have contacts with Uzbek students and alumni from Chinese university in order to learn Uzbek student migration experience in China. We are also establishing interviews with ministries and other agencies in order to see the macro level of our research question. Further, we'll move on to the project management. We set monthly meetings on Zoom. And right after the Zoom, we circulate our action points, further plans, and notes via email. And we do also save all the notes in our shared Dropbox file, where we store all the related documents and information. We do also have approved our project at the University of Westminster Ethics Committee, and we follow all the ethics policies according to the university. So also I would highlight that we have dedicated Gmail address of bri@gmail.com, as you see on the screen. So if you have any questions or you are interested to be interviewed within the framework of our project, you can always contact us. So on I would highlight that COVID-19 has also effect on our project. We have planned a field trip from London to Uzbekistan in order to have interviews in April 2020, but it never happened in light of the travel restrictions. And now we are trying to adjust our methodology to the online mode. So we are planning all the interviews online. However, we have an open question on how to spend these funds if the field trips will never happen. But we are optimistic about the field trip. We hope that we will have it in 2021. So let's see the COVID-19 effects further. Okay, now let's move to the initial findings. All these findings are from the media analysis. First, I would cover trade and investments part. In trade and investments, we have some popular topics in media. First is about agriculture and farming. So on farming, we have smart farming and using of Chinese technologies in Uzbekistan, Chinese farming technologies in Uzbekistan. It is becoming a popular topic here. And on agri-trade, we have also some interesting topics about the exports from Uzbekistan to the exports of fruits and vegetables from Uzbekistan to China. Very popular topics are infrastructure projects and industrial productions, which are investments projects from China to Uzbekistan. So here I would like to highlight some interesting facts from the media coverage. First is that China is a leading trading partner of Uzbekistan with 19% of the overall volume, whereas bordering countries such as Kazakhstan and Russia have only about 9 and 16% respectively. Also, another point to highlight is that more than half of exports to China are natural resources or gas. This is also increasing a topic in increasing interest topic in Uzbek media, and another increasing interest for the BRI project is that a trade corridor is established in Uzbekistan. So trade corridor is called Trasera. It is one of the most expensive and strategically important projects in the framework of BRI, and it is one of the most published newspaper articles in Uzbek media.
We only have about a minute left, so we need to be really quick.
On migration and Chinese language education, we have much less information in the media. So on migration, we have increasing interest in tourism opportunities for Chinese people in Uzbekistan, and Chinese language education is also less popular. So we have Confucius Institute in Samarkand, established one of the first in Central Asia. And on Chinese language education, we also have some faculties in Uzbek universities, such as faculty in the University of Oriental Studies. Yes, these are all initial findings for BRI project. Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Gerda.
Yes, so I'm just going to be really brief. What is happening right now? So as you said, outlined this rich work already taking place in the media analysis that's ongoing. We changed our methodology to do interviews and some of the ethnographic work online, and there's several interviews already lined up. We are planning to do focus groups and further interviews in February. So that's sort of a side part of the research that I will be conducting, and have set aside time for that in February. And I think the most important point to mention is that we are organizing and have organized and put up 4 papers for a conference in 2021, which we are planning as an online conference. And actually it's going to be a series of 5 Wednesdays between 12 and 4 p.m., which is a time slot that works ideally for participants from across the globe, regardless of where they sign in from. And we have the call for papers online, both at the University of Westminster and also on WIUT. And you can, if you share the slides afterwards, you can of course look for the call for papers. I'm not going to tempt the fate here by trying to link to them now. But that is really it. It's been a fantastic project to have. It's been really, we were very excited for our field trip in April 2020, which of course did not come to pass. We're still hopeful that we might be able to, despite the plans to gather the data online, to visit, because for ethnographic work it would be so important to have the background. But I can say it's been an incredibly positive and inspiring opportunity to work together with researchers at WIUT, and we've made a lot of progress. It's been very successful, the collaboration so far, and I really look forward to continuing and presenting our research in June. Thank you, and apologies for going a bit longer.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Can I please have your questions in the chat? And I'm giving floor to the theme in the society and would like to invite Dr. Aurora Valescu. Hi, Aurora, are you here?
Hi, Lobar.
Hi, good to see you, Aurora. Yeah.
Can I ask for some privileges to
like
share?
What? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Of course.
Thank you. All right. So I will have to see which one. I think share. Yeah, just a few slides. I don't know if they are visible.
Yes, very visible.
Okay. Are they in full? I can see the.
Yes, it is in full, Aurora. Yes, please go on. You
Thank
have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Yes, well, as Gerda mentioned at the end, I think it's a privilege to be part of this type of collaborations, and we can all benefit greatly from my experience. The project I've been involved with, the cotton chains, as we metaphorically called it, stems from a great variety of expertise that is based at WIUT, in particular in the studies of cotton sector, which is a very important sector in the Uzbek economy. Sorry, both domestically and internationally in the international exchanges. And from my interest in business and human rights, intersecting corporate social responsibility. So this was a stemming, the starting ground, let's say, of the, and today I will say a few words presenting the project. We are in the middle of it. It has been extended by a year due to the COVID in particular, impediments in pursuing generally with our work. And I will also be joined by Dr. Afso, who is one of the team members. I will present the full team shortly. Now, the project, regarding the project goals, so to speak, it looks at the cotton sector and cotton supply chains. So it looks to the complexity of issues that stem socially and internationally from the point of view of economics, business management, legal regulatory frameworks. It focuses on aspects related in particular to labor and environment. And I will mention some of those a bit later with respect to the various strands that we developed as part of this. It was mentioned in the introduction as well, our focus and impetus for interdisciplinarity. We are an expression of that impetus, so to say, at the institutional level, but also generally in the research environment, under the stemming from the idea that we are not living in silos and we can benefit from those intersections. the Cotton Chains project brings into the intersection, is developed at the intersection of economics, business studies, development studies, law and regulation, social legal studies, broadly speaking. And I will give some details shortly. As objectives, we have objectives, of course, research objectives that relate to, in particular, using a methodology that works on mapping what we call mapping clusters of interest in the field. In this particular case, in the cotton sector, looking at the intersection of interests that stem from the sector itself, from the international market, the way it is developed, and working with that methodology in order to see what it can say to us about influencing policies and reform. Uzbekistan has been in the past 5-10 years, the latest 5 in particular, through waves of reform of trying to address very important issues regarding the environment, but also regarding labor practices, in particular the ones in relation to forced labor and child labor. Now, the objectives cover this mapping of the clusters from the point of view of that intersection of fields that I mentioned earlier, with the idea of producing research that will be able to inform at the highest level possible policies in the future. The other objective that is related to the project and is part of what it was proposed as one of the aims of the project is the one regarding capacity building of research in the 2 institutions, but also of our collaboration. And from this point of view, we are all very excited about establishing the Silk Road Forum, Uzbek and Silk Road Studies Forum, that is going to somehow offer, hopefully in the future, a solid basis for us taking forward the project as well. Because we are thinking about short term, this kind of, it is a small project, it is funding practically based on our expertise, but it's funding 2 workshops, one in Tashkent that we had just before the lockdown, a few months before the lockdown. And we are planning and being very hopeful within this extension of 1 year to be able to have the second one, where the colleagues, the team members from Tashkent would, or actually from, no, not from Tashkent, from across the world, because we are a bit scattered, will join us in London for a forum and for actually taking forward both our findings, but also our research capacity in order to maybe apply for further funding, for taking on broader projects that relate to the cotton sector. Now, briefly, the team that we have, I'm not sure how the time is, the team that we have is highly interdisciplinary. I have here the names with the associated fields in which they are active in particular, and that they contribute, my colleagues contribute to the project. We have Etenesh Asfo, who is based in the Center for Policy Development, Agriculture, Center for Policy Research and Outreach at WIUT. This is a relatively new center, and we were very happy for Etenesh to join us. And she will say a few words about the strand of research shortly, about the strand of the research that she's contributing to the project, to the cotton chains. We have Firuza Bobokulova, based at WIUT, and an expert in contract law and policy, who is developing one of the strands. Begzod Egambardiev, that is from economics department and currently a PhD candidate in Germany, also former lecturer at WIUT. Malika Shapirova, equally former teaching staff at WIUT, and now an independent researcher who felt very excited about the project, that she remains committed and associated to the project from the business management, bringing her business and management expertise. Jamshid Normatov, who is in the economics and a PhD candidate at UoW in Tashkent, and also the supporting staff and organizational issues on the WIUT side of the project. Tamila Tageva, legal expertise, bringing in international development, law development studies, also based at WIUT in the law department, and myself. I will briefly outline, together with my colleague Atanesh, the broad strands. So I mentioned that we're lucky to hold the first workshop where we discussed establishing a network, building a network of experts that are interested to stay involved with our core research team in Tashkent, and it's all the workshop we managed to actually settle on a number of research strands that we will briefly present to you just for information, and then we can take questions as much as possible about the various strands, given that only Atanesh could unfortunately join me today for this presentation. So I will pass for the first strand. I took them not in the order of importance. As I said, we are working interdisciplinary and we support each other. At the same time, we felt it appropriate that everybody is developing a small part of the project and focusing and leading on a small part of the project, with the aim equally, which was mentioned at the beginning, the Silk Road Journal, with the aim of potentially, which we have discussed already with the editors, of publishing possibly one paper for each of these strands, which is a very ambitious, is not what exactly we proposed. I think that a couple of papers coming out of the project would be already an excellent result. So I will pass on to Atanesh to speak briefly about her strand, and then I will briefly present the other strands of research. Atanesh?
Yes, thank you so much, Aurora. As Aurora said, I am a senior research officer in Center for Policy Research and Outreach based in WIUT, and I am engaged in this cotton chains project to produce a paper on Uzbekistan cotton sector reforms and implications. And the motivation behind this is, despite that cotton is a very important strategic commodity for Uzbekistan, it has been historically criticized for being repressive, state-regulated, and inefficient in resource use. But recently, the government of Uzbekistan has been open to so many changes in the sector, and there have been several major reforms in the sector to privatize the sector, but also increase its efficiency. So my contribution will be to look at these policy reforms that took place in the recent past, to look why those reforms were necessitated, or what was happening before that, or what was the policy issue, and to look at the policy implications of these reforms in terms of job creation, eradication of child labor, and satisfaction and job creation for the women. So basically, it's to look into the social, economic, and environmental implication of the reforms. And I hope by doing that, I will contribute to better understanding of the current reforms in the cotton sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Atanesh. So this is one of the strands that Atanesh is in charge of, which is part of the Cotton Chains project. I should also mention that ETNH has already contributed also and published on the topic and under the cotton chains since she has contributed almost very soon after joining the team as part of CIPRO, as part of the policy center she's working for at WIUT, and we are happy already. These are policy papers that are open to or potentially to influence the policy, let's say, players in Uzbekistan and maybe further. Now, briefly, I'm not sure, Lobar, how we are for time. I should have put my...
Really, you have no time, but I will give you another 2 minutes.
Well, I will, thank you very much. That's very generous. So, we have one strand of research that is, of course, being an interdisciplinary approach that brings in legal regulatory, without which, not that I'm biased as being a social legal scholar, but I think that we cannot really progress very far. We have a couple of papers that are looking into a couple of strands that are of research that are looking into the legal aspects. We have Firuza Bobokulova leading on the strand that focuses on the contractual clauses. And you think, yes, so contract is a contract. Well, the way we design that, and sometimes it comes with directives and pro formas, like from the government level, it influences the way the policies are implemented of addressing labor issues, for instance, or child labor and so on the ground. And Firuza is leading on this. Then we have equally from the legal side, I will jump a bit, not going in the, we have from the legal side, we have Tamila Tagieva that is looking to how the domestic and the international are linked and are intersecting in order to address issues in particular of labor and child labor. And she's been developing this strand. Then we have the Uzbek cotton sector stakeholders, what we call, which means beyond shareholders, of course, but stakeholders, this means everybody that has an interest, an economic, a social interest in the development of the cotton sector. And Begzod is going to map this out in a strand that he's developing. And equally, Malika Shapirova is contributing from a perspective of business and management and from the perspective of sustainability and responsibility that is related to the cotton, to the management practices in the field. Another strand is the one led by Jamshid Normatov regarding global textile trade and how the textile trade on the international, some of you may have sometimes heard, some of you may have even taken a social action, be a responsible consumer saying, I am not going to buy this t-shirt because it's produced with such and such, or follow the news and heard that Uzbek cotton is under embargo from United States, or EU was considering embargoing and so on because of social issues, which means issues unrelated to the quality of the cotton, but to the social dimension of the cotton. And this is another aspect that is, of course, of high relevance for the project. And Jamshid is looking into how the textile industry, the fashion industry sometimes, which has taken a few years ago stance and saying, we are not going to wear on the catwalk cotton from Uzbekistan any longer, which triggered consequences from how the cotton contracts were developed and so on. So these are important strands that come all under an umbrella, which I have, in a way I can say, designed of all looking to mapping out interests and looking into how we can, almost like what buttons one can push policy-wise. I think Etenesh mentioned waves and waves of policy changing and the regulatory changes at the Uzbek level, domestic level, to look at what buttons are there, what stakeholders are there, and how we can work towards aligning certain of them so that the outcome in policy change is the one, the desired social progress one, let's say. Thank you very much. This, I think, I'm not sure I can change. Yeah. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for the time, Lobar.
Thanks a lot, Aurora. That's quite contemporary project, I guess. And Aurora, you have a comment from Vincent Rich, who is saying that his school, the School of Organizations, Economy, Society, who has got the several staff of research interests, they would be interested in your project as well. So maybe you can collaborate with them as well.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you very much for mentioning. I'm sorry, I didn't put, I'm not sure whether on the first page was my email address, probably not. But anyway, we are all connected, and it would be great to hear from you. Thank you, Vincent.
We shift a bit away from society culture, and we have two other areas. One is in terms of the intelligent predictive modeling at healthcare events. So if I pass on to Gerda, I think who has been willing to chair this second session. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Roland. And I'm not going to say very much at all, other than one of the challenges of the, I mean, there are many opportunities and benefits of being able to congregate like this online. But one of the challenges for the chair of a meeting is to actually how to flag that time is up, because people don't necessarily read the chat while they're presenting. And I can't be sure that you will see me sort of flagging a hand or a sheet of paper. So I'm going to be quite rude, and just when it's getting to 10 minutes, I'm just going to briefly say that time is nearly up. I hope that's okay, but I think it's probably the most effective way of achieving it. So without further ado, I'm just passing over now to Thierry, who is going to speak about their project on intelligent predictive modeling of healthcare events.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gerda. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, now how do I get this? So I'm trying to get it as a slideshow. Okay, this should be better now. It's full screen. So thanks a lot. This is a quite different project in the sense it's not maybe directly related to a study of Uzbekistan, but it is very much about research capability. So it all started during a visit actually to Uzbekistan nearly 2 years ago, time flies, in January 2019, when I was visiting to help setting up the MSc Business Intelligence and Analytics there, which I lead the same or very similar course in London. So, and then the discussion started about building capacities around the course and obviously research related to the course. So the title of the project is Intelligent Predictive Modeling of Healthcare Events. Obviously, my experience and my interests have been for a long time about pretty much using data to help health services and this sort of things. So the collaborators actually, interestingly, when I suggested to the people working on this project, who are all on the slide here, Abdul Malik, Nadira, and Iqbal and Mahmoud is from University of Westminster, and Abdul Malik, Nadira, and Iqbal are all from WIUT. When I suggested if you wanted to contribute to the presentation, then everybody is here. So it shows the enthusiasm in the team. So everybody's going to jump in and say something. So I will try to be as quick as possible, because I don't know if we're going to manage that. So just briefly, so I will go briefly through our mission, aims, and objective of a project, if you want. And they will talk about our work, successes, and vision for the future. So our mission, if you want, in short, is to give creative contributions to the world by providing evidence-based deep insights and understanding of healthcare data. So it is maybe a grand mission, but it is at our heart. And obviously, for that, our aim is really to boost WIUT STEM research capacity through exemplary partnership, and in particular, this capacity is in the field of AI, machine learning, analytics, and with application to, in particular, health care. So the objective, if you want, is to extend this academic partnerships excellence to internationally recognized research collaboration. And obviously, research is also obviously about challenging state-of-the-art published data science results. And last, and maybe not least, is to attract global attention and recognition by disseminating our research internationally through conferences and journal publications. So this is, I will pass now the baton to my colleagues who are going to tell you a bit more about some of the work that we have carried out so far. So, Iqbal.
Yes, thank you very much. So with that mission in mind, we started our first project. Our research is titled A New Machine Learning Modeling Approach for Patients' Mortality Prediction in Hospital Intensive Care Unit. Can we go to the next? Thank you. So what we did basically was to train AI algorithms, artificial intelligence algorithms, on ICU patients' historical data, which is grouped by different categories, different health status, and we created AI models. So with such training, these AI models now can perform better at estimating the risk of death in the hospital ICU. So the novelty that we have here is in our work is that we have a combination of various sets of health conditions with which our models outperform all the existing models. And those existing models use conditions that are specific, that are for specific groups of patients. That's all I have.
Good.
Yeah, so it's Mahmoud from Westminster. So our phases of work and our workflow, to look at this slide, it's not really so complex. So if we look at the left-hand side, our main focus was using machine learning and deep learning as the main methods that we're gonna use from AI and data science. And what we did, that we gathered a data set of 60,000 patients who were admitted to ICU. And this data had their historical vital signs records, demographics, some medication records, some lab test results, some diseases and morbidities, etc., and many, many other things, other variables. And we divided our work into 3 specific phases. And we've completed phase 1 already of doing a comparative study by looking what's out there, what's been already produced in journals, and doing it ourselves and see if we actually can overtake those, which we successfully did. You can see that there are 3 key parts of each phase, and that's design and preparation, modeling, and research dissemination. But it's worth mentioning that, yes, we completed our comparative study, and Nadira, my colleague, will be taking you through that later on. But the second phase is more about simplifying and optimizing the AI models that we created that we think that could actually have a massive impact in the clinical care domain. In terms of phase 3, we're looking at deploying these AI models into maybe clinical screening and clinical practice. And that's the application side of things. Nadira, do you like to go through? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mahmoud. So I want to present the results of our research work we already have done. And I want to present the accuracy of the predictive models that we developed. And I want to also compare it to existing solutions. So our mortality prediction model can predict with 86% of accuracy class of patients who are likely to live. And with 85% of accuracy, we can predict patients who are at risk of death in an intensive care unit. And here by accuracy, we mean the amount of correct predictions out of total amount of patients in each group. And these are very promising results, especially for the health data, when each patient has very different health conditions, and well, these results are very solid. And we also faced a very challenging situation with a class imbalance. The health data is always imbalanced, and for example, in our data sets, we had 93% of patients who were discharged from ICU successfully, and 7% of the patients died in ICU. But that is a challenge for the modeling, which we successfully overcome by applying different methods and techniques. If we compare these results to existing ones, the existing severity scoring systems that are used in hospitals worldwide, can we go, please? Yeah. Thank you. So current solutions can predict patients who are likely to live with 74% of accuracy, and the patients who are at risk of a death with a 77% of accuracy. So if you look, you can notice that we have achieved almost 10% improvement of prediction results with our approach. And further, can we please go further? Yeah, we presented this work in the International Symposium on Bioinformatics and Biomedicine in Burgas, Bulgaria. And we received a very good feedback from colleagues and organizers. And what's more exciting, we also received a Best Oral Presentation Award for outstanding oral presentation. And even though there is only my name on this certificate, we all worked as a team to develop the models, to prepare the paper for the publication and prepare this presentation. And it is truly a recognition of our team collaboration. So thank you, Audmalk again.
Thank you, colleagues. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Yes, we achieved quite a significant research outcome that was acknowledged by the international conference. However, we have a very clear vision. So we want to shape our research impact for the future. Could you have the next? Yes. And
can I just say that the 10 minutes are up. So if you've got another minute or so to wrap it up.
Yes, I'll be quick. Yeah, thank you for interruption. And our future is clear. So we want to form the recognized Center for Health Data and Analytics in the region of Central Asia. We may focus not only health, but other sectors as well. And we have very clear plan. So the first, enhance our WIUT University of Westminster joint research collaboration in global areas. So we want to grow from the academic partnership to research partnership. And we want to clearly formulate our active research and input in regional development through the comprehensive academic partnership. Definitely, as it was told by my colleagues, we want to actually create a platform to shape the comprehensive artificial intelligence and machine learning studies and research, and applied research as well, to excel academic reputation of both universities, WIUT as well as the University of Westminster. And our last but not least plan, so we want to strengthen our research networking, attracting more international funding. So perhaps we are looking for extending our research, involving more international research partners, creating a consortium, yeah, on healthcare, machine learning, artificial intelligence solutions development. So these are very brief. Yeah, we try to fit into the 10 minutes. Thank you for notice. So if you have any questions, you may write to this email, or you can ask later on. But anyway, thank you very much for your consideration, for your attention, dear colleagues. Rahman.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for a fascinating presentation, a completely different project, and as you said, really focusing on capacity building. And thank you also for excellent timekeeping. We will take questions after the second presentation. Can I just say that if you, for the discussion later on, you can actually raise your hand. So the function to raise your hand in Zoom is if you click on the bottom of your screen, you can see participants with the number of participants. If you click on that, on participants, a raise your hand button actually appears. So that might be the best way to manage the questions afterwards. So don't click on the little chevron next to participants, but on participants themselves, and then you can see all of them and you can raise your hand. But now I'm going to pass over immediately to my colleague Loba, who is presenting on a very different project, again focusing on education and the transition from school to university, what it means to be a university student. Over to you, Loba.
I'm sorry. Thanks, Gerda. So we are working with Professor Terry Lamb on the on autonomy. So what does it mean to be a university student? We in particular would like to see what does it take for the student to transit from school to the university. And in particular, it's very interesting to see in the Uzbek context, because the schooling system, the public school system, is still under the legacy of the Soviet Union education, where everything is very much instructor-based and teacher-centered rather than learner-centered. And we would like to see what is it, how it is to develop a learner autonomy, and in particular what is needed for the students, and especially for those students who are moving from the local system to completely new system, which is completely different and unfamous for them, which is a higher education system of the UK. And we would like to see, of course, at the end as an outcome, recommendations how and what the course can provide to support that autonomy of the student and their transition. We also would like to give some recommendations to the ministries of public and higher education ministries. So maybe they can also recommend something to the universities and maybe the final years at the high schools. We did some literature review, and of course the first thing was that what is autonomy, and there are lots of definitions. There is not one which is mainly accepted, but what is interesting to see in the literature, I mean, you can read my points, but what was interesting to find is learner autonomy is mainly explored in the teaching foreign language framework. So it is not explored in the other educational settings or in pedagogy in general. So it is mainly focused in the literature that then where you teach other language. So that this is when you develop learner autonomy, or at least this is how authors look at it. So we want to extend that and look at the learner autonomy rather than a trait of any student who comes to the university. So these are our questions. We would like to see it from the student side, from the teacher's side, and to what extent our teachers perceive student readiness, how much we prepare our material, thinking if they are ready or not, and what kind of support we have to provide to students to ensure that they are developing their autonomy. Our methodology is mixed. We would like to do a student survey. We completed only first part, which was Lyceum students. Lyceum is the last year of their schooling. And we did only WIUT Lyceum students, and we got 86 response rates. So that was right before we were closed for the lockdown. We also would like to see what our level 3 and 4 students are going to say. We plan to do a focus group with students and academics, and we would like to do some interviews with officials from the ministries. So these are the initial outcomes, and you can see the profile of the students from Lyceum. So they are mainly from nationality, they point as Uzbeks, and the gender is mainly 65% of them are male, and mainly the home region is Tashkent. when we ask them what makes a good learner, so most of them answered that this is hardworking and this is my motivation. A lot of them mentioned that they are looking for teacher support, that it's up to the teacher. And lots of them also mentioned passion and learning independently on your own. And of course, the least, which was very interesting, was enjoyment of the studies as a part of being a good learner. This was interesting when we asked them a question in which ways you think you need to learn differently at university from where you are at school. Almost all of them mentioned that they laugh, but there is no uniform, but there is no compulsory attendance, and that there is more interaction with your peers and with teachers, and there are fewer exams. So I think this is the point which must be addressed by the Ministry of Public Education. I know public education is doing a lot of changes now, so maybe something which we also can consider. They also mentioned, or lots of them mentioned, freedom, and they say that moving to university for them means it is more self-study and more responsibility for your study. Before we gave them the questionnaires, we did explain to them what do we mean by autonomous learner, because we do understand that they might not come across this term. So when we asked them, what do you understand by autonomous knowledge? So many of them replied that this is about self-study, this is about time management, this is about independent study. Some of them, it was about 20% of them, said that this is support from my tutor, and this is how much knowledgeable my tutor is. Then we also asked them, what do you expect from a good teacher? Because teacher, of course, is a part of the process of education. And they all mentioned passion, interactivity, and kindness. Of course, they are mentioning knowledge, but the passion and kindness was one of their priorities. And that nicely fit into the one of the literature, which says that the two elements of a good teacher is enthusiasm and passion for your students and your knowledge and your subject. The other part of the questionnaire was if they know how they can learn better, because that's part of the autonomy. Most of them do agree, only 5% disagree. So here we kind of have some mutual understanding. They do say that they are comfortable working in the groups, some of them kind of neutral. But what was interesting to know after that you can see that I have negative correlation. This is when we asked them about how autonomous you are. Do you believe you're autonomous? And if majority of the students said, yes, I am autonomous, those students are saying that they do not like working in the groups. This was interesting because if you're autonomous learner, so you should be quite independent in the group. And it does imply that you can voice your own opinion in the group and you should be comfortable working there. But we found out that students are not that enjoying working in the groups. So our next step is we are going to continue with our focus groups, hopefully in the next semester, then we will have hopefully less of the lockdown and do the survey with our level 3 and 4 and some interviews with officials, of course. Well, we do hope that the outcome of our studies will be quite helpful in terms of the educational, it will bring an educational value to those who are in charge of the curriculum development, as well as to the simple tutors and teachers who are working with students who should understand what is autonomy. And most of all, we are there to develop those students who are self-managed, self-regulated, and responsible for their own studies, thinking, and only then they can grow into the critical thinkers or creative thinkers who we all expect them to see at the end of their studies. So that's very briefly about our project.
Maybe I'll just come in transition and say thank you for some excellent chairing from Luba and Gerda, and also for some really wonderful presentations, I think, which were great. I saw in Nadira there was the best oral presentation awards, which we haven't got that on this time, but they're all excellent presentations. And I think it does illustrate that for a relatively small amount of money that has been provided through this research collaborations, very significant results have come through from that. And I think if there's one word which I think I quite like from Thierry mentioning about igniting the capabilities, I think hopefully to do that on both sides, both in Uzbekistan, but also in London and in Britain, this type of collaboration does really help to generate interdisciplinary research and generate new ideas and new thinking, and that is really helpful, particularly with this comparative dimensions we have from Central Asia and from London. So I'm going to pass over to Bahram, who is going to, I think, give a few announcements and also give some indication of how we'd like to see this research collaboration go into the future. So Bahram, if I turn over to you.
Thank you, Roland. And this is very exciting. It's been a long time and lots of work and lots of people to thank here. At the same time, I was so happy to see such breadth and depth of topics today, and shows how the collaboration can happen in a natural and organic way. So, and as Roland mentioned in his beginning speech, this is also to celebrate what we have done so far and what we can do in the future. So with that, I also wanted to comment, especially for the last two presentations, this research also builds into, for example, we just launched today MSc in Public Health Science, and we're also developing MA in Learning and Teaching. So this is all happening because of our colleagues' hard work, but also collaboration with colleagues in London. So this is all very good news, and we're so happy to support such a benevolent initiative as always. So today I would like to spill the beans and say who won the, there were many project teams who applied for the collaborative fund last year or earlier this year. So, and it just went longer than expected because of COVID and changes in the administration. But let me just, there are some caveats. So this is not, there's some comments to revise, but I'll just say this is the congratulations to the following teams who I will write formally, or my colleague Kahraman will write formally and get in touch with the project leaders this month. So is it okay, Roland, if I go through the names?
That's fine, that's absolutely fine. Yes.
Okay, so the first project that to be funded, again, in the email, there'll be more detail. So the first project to be funded this year is the team led by Daphne Economou. Sorry if I butcher the name, but the project title is Learning Sign Language, Combining Game Theory, Video, and VR Technology. So congratulations, very happy to have you join the line of projects we already have. The next project is a project led by our colleague Farhad Karimov, and the name of the project is Creativity and Risk in Advertising in Central Asia. So that's, again, they had a project a couple of years ago. This is a similar project with similar folks, but also new people have joined the team. The next project is belongs to our director, Roland. So Roland, congratulations. He put in a bid with a project name Central Asian Integration, Dynamics and Constraints. So there are two colleagues from the University of Westminster and two colleagues from here who will continue this work. The next project is led by our colleague Yelena Volkova. Her project is facing the challenges of engaging higher education students in a post-COVID world the application of social media messengers to enhance student learning outcomes and engagement. So a very long title, but it's an important project. So the next project is Richard West, our former liaison tutor for the business school, and he will lead a team of colleagues both here and there with the title, The Evolution of Family Stereotypes in Advertising Communications, a cultural comparison between the UK and Uzbekistan. So last but not least, some support for the Westminster Forum for Uzbek and Silk Road Studies was submitted by Stephen Wallace. So Stephen, congratulations. Perhaps you would like to say a few things, Stephen.
Thank you, Bakram. Thank you, colleagues. I mean, I think, you know, the funding that we've secured will enable us to further develop the activities of the forum, and we'll be in touch with colleagues to see how best this might be done. But it might be, you know, there may be funding available for, you know, a small seminar series and things like that. So it's very interesting from that point of view. So thank you.
Thank you. So the next step for the collaborative funds is we usually announce and circulate the call for proposals in January of each year. So we already have forms, the call for proposals and the application form. That will be circulated through Stephen Wallace to the respective liaison tutors and research directors of each college on the London side, and on our side we'll circulate through our research office and heads of departments and etc. So it will have the, you know, the rules and regulations, eligibility and so on, and criteria and the budget and the timelines. So I hope more and more colleagues will apply, and if there are any questions, you can always contact Stephen or Roland or Kahraman or myself or former project leaders who have gone through the process and know more about this. So that will be circulated in January. So, and lastly, I would just like to say again, thank you so much for everyone. I know we're here for more than 2 hours, but I think it was very productive. Just like I learned new things, which is always good to learn. And in closing, I always say, you know, if UK Central Asia has a lot of commonalities, and one of the things people, whenever I visit London, I like to visit museums, and one of the things is I'm fascinated by the Industrial Revolution, you know, and the invention of steam engine and so on. But before the steam engine, I always say horse was a steam engine, and horses originated from Central Asia. So, and I hope, you know, through collaboration, these two, you know, big, strong capacity capabilities come together and bring more interesting and big ideas to fruition in the future. So it's very humbling. And Roland, thank you for moderating the session today and for organizing. And same goes to Kahraman and his team.
Okay, thank you very much, Bakram, and also for those inspiring final words as well. And just to say as well, thank you also for WIUT, for Technology Actem, for keeping us on track, and thank you for the chairs and for the excellent presentations. I think it's very good that we've had almost 70 participants in this session. I think it shows a really lively and proactive research community. I think is also, as Bakram was saying, this is deeply connected to, you know, the links between research and teaching and engagement. Public engagement are strongly interconnected here. I will be certainly looking forward working with Kahraman for developing this forum to institutionalize this research partnership, provide a real forum for disseminating and ensuring that this research reaches a wider audience. and we will keep you informed as time goes by, particularly as you get towards the formal launch in May. But at this point, unless there's anything anyone wants to add, I would say goodbye and have a great weekend as well.
Thank you, Roland. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.